I'm the voice. This is Holiday 2025. I'm with Rob and I'm with Neegs. How's it going, guys?
Good. Hi, guys.
Hey, pretty good. That's going great. It's been a very long time again. We'll be able to talk about a lot of things, the market situation, how it's working with the partner. We'll be happy to update things and then wish happy holidays to everybody. Christmas is coming. That'll be a great time, I hope, for
Merry
everybody.
Christmas to all. Yes.
Cool.
So
let's start.
Let's try dead air. What does that sound like?
Dead air is good. It gets people's attention. Are you there?
We don't really script who will talk about what. We have kind of a list of things we want to approach, but then every time it's kind of whoever jumps on. So that's why sometimes there's kind
let's talk about the Bitcoin market.
I was just going to say, poor Neegs has to cut it all. Anyway, that's all I'll say.
No, I do a lot less work. Like, it's actually an interesting point. Early on, I was doing a lot of work for editing because, the three of us are, especially Rob and I, were not really experienced in that. And so we had a lot of things that were good to cut. But as time went on, I cut less and less. And it was almost like
you're a pro.
Complete episode. Right. Just remove sometimes some things that were too long.
So we hit a 126K top with Bitcoin.
Yes.
And I want to make one comment on that because you can just go on the internet and see all these different things. But a year and a half ago, I think, was it between a year and a half ago, I just did some math. You can all do this too. You can look at you have to not do this for the first peak. You're doing peak and trough analysis. So the first peak relative to the previous trough is that's infinity. So you do the next one, the next peak to the previous trough to it, the next peak, previous trough to it, and so forth. If you keep going through that, if you go through that process, about a year and a half ago, I said the next peak is 126. And everybody else is saying 250, everybody else, so many people, $1 million, la. And if you just look at the exponential drop in the peaks over the time, about 120 to 130 was what you were expecting, just from that analysis. Now, I had no faith in that analysis because I honestly think that there's a lot of political influence, economic influence. I think those things are all true. But and then the next trough after that is 75 to 80. And if you look at none of this is technical analysis with charts. This is just looking at the chart and kind of just projecting the trend going forward. And the funny part is now maybe the Bitcoin price is still just math and not all, like Michael Saylor. Maybe he's just not right. Like all of a sudden there's it's only up because of all of this institutional investment. Maybe Turpin's not right. I don't know. But all I know is that a year and a half ago, I said 120, it was 126, and maybe it's the final top. I see other people saying that there's another top coming. I don't think we've ever seen these kind of spikes to this degree before, but that's my only experience with this. As everybody knows, I've said it over and over again. I don't trade. I don't do technical analysis. That's the only thing I did. And so the 126 doesn't surprise me. It's just sad.
So just to give some context, I think that it's good to maybe put in perspective what was kind of the expectation of the market. And most people in the industry and in the market were expecting to have a peak by the end of this year, right? Probably around October, November. And so even if Bitcoin hit that 126K, which definitely was already a great progress compared to its previous top, there was no crazy time, right? This is what people were expecting. The time that lasts 2 weeks where things get really completely crazy. And it didn't happen. And so because of that, I think that a lot of people are still speculating that we are not in a bear market. And that's definitely an open question. I would say that as it stands and looking at the chart, if we were to go under 75,000, that would be that would cancel all the upside, right? If you look at a chart, basically it would have come back to starting point. And that's usually a very bad thing. Like if it goes back to starting point and it rebounds, that's okay. But if it breaks that, that would be like the ultimate sign that we actually are in a bear market. Now, the fact that there hasn't been that crazy time also shows that it is changing, right? And we talked about last time, and I think the time before, about the 4-year cycle. Some people saying that maybe that cycle is dead. And one thing that is sure is, as time goes on, the spikes up and corrections should also narrow down. So we don't know how low Bitcoin will go. We don't know if we're already in the bear market. But what is sure also is that all the industry, like a large part of the industry, was expecting a lot more, and is now in a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, not just a lot more in terms of price, but sooner too. Like in my travels around, I see a lot of predictions from people like Michael Turpin or Michael Saylor or other people. And Turpin's the funny one because he's got this whole book on the Bitcoin cycle, super cycle it's called, or whatever. And I've been listening to him, and this is no dig at him because I just think this stuff is not as predictable as it's predictable maybe in context, but not like by this date. But I've listened to him move the peak date out from May to September to the end of this year, and then if I went and watched him again, I bet I would see first quarter 2026. I'm sure of it.
Right.
And so it's not just the amplitude of the peak, it's the delay is also surprising.
Yeah. And there is this disconnection between what's really happening for Bitcoin, which is actually pretty positive, and then what's happening, but what were the expectations, right? Like it is actually a pretty well-performing asset. However, we can see that gold has started to pop up as tension arises, right? Because the rest of the economy is definitely it's piling up on the things that put tension on overall markets. However, because of AI, the stock market is actually beating records constantly, right? And then gold is also beating some new records, and silver, like precious metals. And so yeah, people are now questioning because they have been seeing Bitcoin overperforming all of that for the last 15 years, right? And so now they're like, hey, like a lot of people are questioning that. And all those questions is exactly what you get during the bear market.
I'll tell you one
right?
more thing. Yeah, I'll tell you one more thing that didn't exist before. It's still kind of like Y2K. So if you told everybody knew about Y2K like 10 years before it was a real thing, but people didn't start taking it seriously until like a year or two before year 2000.
True. Yeah.
And I think we're seeing the same with quantum. So like we've known there's a quantum threat, and the worst part about Q-Day is that we don't know when it is. And we don't know what those people who get an appropriately sized quantum computer will do with it. Because, if you attack Bitcoin, you're announcing you have it, whereas you may not want that. But this is the first year, now I'm going around and talking to people and so forth. It's the first year that I see it in people's kind of purview. Like there is this kind of like, will Bitcoin last through that? I don't know. Is anybody doing anything against it? Very few. But only now am I start seeing like assurances that this will be quantum safe. Like it's very slim, but it's there at least, and people do talk about it. There's whole talks on this that didn't exist before. So not only are these other things great and doing well, there's also this threat ahead of us, and so that may also be a damper. I'm not sure.
And the war, because we actually don't have that in the list of topics, but it would have been a miss. But also the major war that is happening among the core developers of Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Like obviously, this is also a major threat.
Yeah, there's that too.
Well, I think that's.
I'll tell you the end of that.
you have
I'll tell you,
you have
go ahead.
several things
Right.
going on, right? We have
Mhm.
politics. That's a big thing. We have traditional finance and crypto. There's a lot of misconceptions on how those relate to one another. You have quantum, you have the war. There's so many negatives, even though it's still a positive right now. There's so many negatives going on that causes a reaction to the average user, either to hodl and ignore everything and just hide in fear, or others dump. And that's just what happens. It's just
Which is
too
a
many
shame,
things
because
at
if
once.
it's like Bitcoin Cash, like hodling is better. Like you get both. So if there is a split, but I am 100% sure that if there's a split, like a fork, where there's two Bitcoins after this, banks and governments will choose the right Bitcoin. They will bless the quote unquote real Bitcoin, whether we agree with it or not.
Isn't that
I'm pretty
sad?
sure that for me, that's what's going to happen.
That's the ultimate. We've just ruined everything.
Yeah, well, that's how I think it's going to happen.
I feel, and not to belabor that, but I wrote an article about that, and so I'm very personal, and we all don't agree on many things, but I think that there probably will be something happening in the future. I've been pretty adamant about that, but I could be wrong. But the animosity between two parties, no matter which side you fall on, no matter which team you like, it's the Grand Canyon kind of a divide. They are not close at all. So it's not a good thing. It's not.
You mean the Knots core?
It's not just Knots. There are other miners, not just the Knots miners. There are other developers. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Interesting. And there's one more aspect. We got to move on soon, but there's one more aspect I would say. Again, I know a lot of people felt, or maybe even still feel, that Trump is the pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto kind of president, and he might very well be. But I will tell you, I've mentioned this last time, I've been all over the place. His policies making people nervous. And when people are nervous, they don't want to invest, especially in risky assets. And so I think that's also part of this.
It's true.
Yeah. And also, I think that the last point about that is also that crypto was the cutting edge of like revolutionary technology for the last 15 years.
Yes.
And it's not anymore. Like in the last
AI.
few years, AI took that spot. And
AI is so freaking cool.
And for 15 years, we've seen people talking about adoption, but see how AI is being adopted. Look at the speed of adoption. So
because it's instantly useful for everyone.
Well, that's
and again, it doesn't neglect the quality of what crypto is. Crypto is an insane invention, like a revolution for financial transactions. However, it is a lot slower to move forward, and of course, investors, they want to be paid like as soon as possible, right? And so it definitely, I think, shifted a lot of the money that would have come to the crypto markets, and they went in AI stocks.
That is true. That is true. Individuals and angels and VCs and all the money that they could be investing in things, they're looking at AI. AI is a utility. That's what we've been stressing with our sidechains initiatives, is that the problem with Bitcoin is unsettled right now, because you look at the financial and all the different outlooks. We just mentioned 4, and there's many more problems with the fear in Bitcoin right now. It causes that unsettling. If there was utility and use for it, that velocity creates some sort of stability. And then we don't have these emotional, which is what they are, swings in buying and dumping. We don't have those kinds of things. Crypto needs a utility. Bitcoin doesn't have one, though some will say, which I do a little bit agree with, hodl is one, but the hodl is based upon an expectation of future appreciation in value, or I should say the balancing of that value. And that's just a guess. It's not utility.
So
it's a hope. It's a faith.
So you're talking about utility, right? But
yes,
the ultimate utility of crypto was to be money, right? That you could
value
move
transfer.
around,
Global
that is fully decentralized,
currency, yes.
right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so it does fulfill that utility. The problem is the
People
crypto
hold it too
industry,
much.
the market, have tried to do more things than that, than just being a money transaction. And so now the problem is, as we've seen, right, because we are defending a fully decentralized service industry in crypto, but you can see that
100%.
is not the case in the rest of the industry. And one of the difficulties that from where we are to a fully decentralized app you could use that is relying on a crypto infrastructure, there are still a few steps, right? We're really not there yet. And so all the things that have been released since, let's say, the explosion of new project with the ICO phase of 2017, like even the good ones, even the one that do offer some utility, like they're not looking good today. And so because of that, I think that the altcoin market is impacted way more than Bitcoin, obviously, because now there is a lot of doubt on if not on if this technology will be relevant, but on if they can make money quickly on it, right? Because obviously that has been what the market has evolved into, right?
That's the thing. It's utility based upon scamming.
Yeah, yeah. Can I tell you one more thing? That the CEO of a AI company that I met like a year ago said to me, a year and a half now. It's a crypto company, and it's an AI orchestrator for different, like we now call this MCPs now, in part of respect, and then orchestrating different kind of like data things. So it's called Axone, AXONE. Mm-hmm. And his contention a year ago was crypto is AI money, and that's its use case. That's what it is. And we can sort of see it, that nobody's really, unless by government decree, and even then, people generally don't like to use, we do, but people generally don't like to use crypto. They don't care about the things we care about. They would just want to move the money from me to you fast and not worry about it. And not have to swap, not have to do any of this stuff. If this country is using this currency, that's the currency. That's not true for AIs. And we get to a place where AIs need to move value from one AI to another. It was a really good use case for that. And not, don't have to use banking system at all. You wouldn't even want to. So that was his. And at the time, I was like, no, that's people money. Like we got all these we're going to have all this utility and we're going to use these coins. I'm now more on his side, that it's going to be AI money.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think there will be several use cases. I didn't make that point when you were talking about the Bitcoin fork, but I think it is an important point. I think if there is no fork right now, that's because none of the sides want to be the leftover fork, right? Because they've seen how it works for others. And if there was a fork today, the one that would be considered blessed by the industry today might not be the one that will end up being blessed by everybody in 20 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. Like it could be what you say, like would be the bank choosing. Like I wouldn't be surprised it would happen early on, but then I don't know if it would stand, because at the end of the day, the battle for financial sovereignty will continue, right? And even and of course, I can imagine a step back. Like it can't always go up, but I would imagine that some people would be using the other Bitcoin and it would be accepted in some places, exactly like it has been before it was blessed by the system a few years ago, right?
Well, you mentioned this about 20 years from now. And I think that's something that most people don't understand. There is nothing in life that is consistent and static forever. Things change. And so you have a lot of maxis that say things that Bitcoin is X and it will always be X. And the fact of that statement is not true. Our politics in every country We can have constitutions, we can have dictates, mandates, whatever you want to put forward with laws and all sorts of things. Those change. They only stay the same if consensus of the people, of the nodes, upholds that original ideal. If enough people do or want something different, then they change that. And that is the funniest thing. I've been saying now for how many years? 3 years. 21 million is not fixed. No matter what any maxi tells you, it's not fixed. They are lying to you. There's already a core dev in Bitcoin who's been proposing removing the 21 million.
Don't
So
get
that's
people
today,
scared.
not 21 years, not 20 years from now, not 100 years from now. That is now. They're already doing that.
I think that would be a hard
pass,
pass, though. I think that
it would be a
create
hard
fork.
pass today,
Yeah.
but 20 years from now.
Yeah, wait till Gen Z gets involved there.
Yeah.
It'll change in 5 seconds.
Yeah,
we need to.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It comes down to like anything. When look, being a U.S. citizen, we have certain things which Niggs, you're not. But Rob, when we went through school, we had to learn history and politics and those kinds of things. And we have founding documents called the Federalist Papers, which kind of we use as a lens to view our Constitution. But those things aren't taught. And so then we have really weird things like our country's been going through for a long time, which we don't agree on things, both of us, even politically the same, but we're similar enough. But that's the issue, is that if people don't review the lens of what the purpose was or the idea and philosophy for whatever it is you're doing, i.e. Bitcoin is our example, then we start getting these wars like we have right now. It's because of fear of hodling. People aren't using it for a utility except hodl. And we all know that there are examples in history of countries, governments, kingdoms where the monarch in that area held the currency, gold, whatever, for and amassed it so much, and it destroys the economy. So we can't have thousands of hodlers holding all the crypto, Bitcoin in this case. It dries up the spirit and velocity of the market, and that destroys it. And then miners are complaining because they don't get mining fees. Anyway, I won't belabor that so much, but anyone who says it's fixed, it's only fixed if we all educate each other and want the same things. And open source dictates that we all don't want the same things. So crypto makes it a decentralized proposition where we vote with our node. So if you want it to stay the same, you vote with your node. You vote by running your own core. You vote by running your own machine. Crypto made easy isn't always as easy as you think. You need to do it the right way. There's no change to that. You have to level up a little bit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yep. Let's get back to the situation, right? Like what happens in the investment situation, because we can see that other altcoins, they're also not doing great. Like there is actually an overall poor performance, the overall cycle for like 99% of the altcoin market. And of course that creates a lot of fear that we could have a major correction in that department. And one thing that is interesting is what you can see with every market or new technology is that initially you have a lot of new company, new things coming in. And then as the money gets tighter, then it focuses on big companies. Like big companies are getting all the money and then they're buying out all the small ones. And that's pretty much what we're seeing right now in crypto, with big names establishing their dominance in the market and then evicting basically all the small ones. So I think this will be what we have to deal with, and basically we have to adapt to that. And the partner has also been facing that, right? So let's move on to the partner really started to, maybe you want to talk about it because you worked the closest with the partner going around in events and all that. Maybe you want to
start we'll get to this. We'll get to this later, but I'm pretty exhausted. So I was doing this for over a year, and going to all these events. And so all of my observations are kind of like from those events and the talks and the people and the investors and how people feedback and so forth. And it's like I definitely went in very bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, and I am definitely walking at this point with some gloom, I'll say. If I look at the industry, there's definitely there's money moving from here to there, but obviously I think we can see right now that value is not being created. And there's a lot of people scrambling to figure out, like, okay, how do we do this? And since AI is such a big thing, there is no event you go to that isn't trying to tie AI to crypto, even when it doesn't work. About this platform. And then when you go through this whole thing, you just see this just centralized. It's Web 2, and they just have a token to raise money. And that's like a ton of it. I would go so far as to say most of it. Like, it's crypto because we're raising money this way, or you use this token and you get a discount. Like, it's not really, you can do all of that without new tokens. And, because they're fundraising. I mean, the thing that is not happening is the thing that we three are trying to focus on is give people to spend money, right? Like money that you have, like make money by providing value. And value. This I just find being skipped over and over. I do see I went to a couple of industries where people were coming up with these complicated crypto schemes about how money moves here. And this one guy, I forgot where he's from. It was really fun, but he was well respected in his area, and he kind of looked at it was tying crypto to some aspect of ammunition sales. I can't remember exactly what it was. And it was this big scheme and so forth. And he goes like, just go from here to here. And he skipped over all this crypto part. And like, it was the whole, I have a product, I'm going to sell the product. He's like, just skip use Bitcoin or whatever, but like, you don't need to do all this weird mechanics. Nobody wants that. I totally agreed. And so we aren't at the point, like, unfortunately, this cycle, we are not at the point where people are realizing, like, the way you make money is still the old fashioned way, right? It's still, hey, provide a service that people want or product that people want.
Make lives better. Right.
People do not want another coin to do a thing. Like, it's super important. That point is getting more and more point, in the same way that I have friends that won't communicate to me on a particular app, on a particular messaging app, because they don't want another one. My sister, when I tell her, like, hey, you do this, you download this app, she's like, I don't want another app on my phone. Like we don't realize this, I suppose, because we're used to like a new coin appearing all the time. People fucking hate it. And so the key in crypto going forward, and I don't think it's going to be this cycle, but if crypto is going to exist, it's just provide something in crypto and accept crypto, right? That's number one. Number two, the best thing for crypto would be to provide something that only you can pay. Like, crypto is the thing that is the reason why you provide this service, right? And so we always go, it's a DEX. It's a DEX, but that's kind of masturbatory for the whole industry. It's not for normal people, right? It's not for somebody who's running a household, doing a service business, selling boxes. That's not for them. What is required? What is for them? This is why AI spread like wildfire. It was for them. Like, everybody's lives is easier because they can write an email, put in all their violent thoughts and feelings, and the email makes it all nice and neat for the person they're actually going to send it to.
Remember the Apple commercials did that, where the person was typing and it was like, it fixed it for you.
Crypto has none of that. But if we want crypto to be a thing, we have to do that. So I see almost none of that. They started to talk about revenues, real revenues, people paying them. But what they mean is revenues coming in from fees of staking or something like not revenues from within the crypto sphere. And this is not the cycle where we are going to provide services for people outside the crypto sphere. Unfortunately, I'm hoping the next cycle is it. That's what we, us with our partner, are building. And I'm pretty convinced you can't even do it with our infrastructure that we have. I fundamentally believe that our infrastructure makes it so that, and when I say our, I mean the industry's infrastructure, smart contracts on chains, people choosing chains to develop, is not conducive to providing services to people who are outside crypto. I just don't think it is.
And I think people are saying it slowly, right? Like,
yes.
Look, I think it will also tie to the next point, but in reality, the current utility, like where you see how crypto is being used right now, it's basically speculation and then staking over speculation.
Staking,
and
rehypothecation.
It's really most of where the money is made right now, where the use is, and not because people don't want to use crypto, right? But because, as you said, it's actually pretty complex to get there. And in fact, people were way more attracted by the money side than actually going through complex, development of apps, which might take actually a much longer time because they didn't have the solution to make it completely decentralized, right? And so now I think that what we offer is actually a solution to that. However, it seems clear that, as you say, it is not the right time. The excessive speculative phase, as I said, put a lot of fear in investors in investing into something like a revolutionary technology. They want something simple, something that will immediately show some revenue, and this learning is also a result of all the work from Rob going around. Like we were able, or actually he was able to build a pretty strong network for our partner, and it is really valuable. However, in the current situation, it's obviously not enough. And one of the things that we understood is our approach, even if it is for us obvious, it is very complex and is not directly tied to revenue. And so that's why, in collaboration with the partner, we're working into shifting a little bit the goal. I mean, the overall goal is the same. However, taking the approach a little bit different, focusing on a smaller project, building a side chain. And then that side chain would basically have a dedicated utility. And we are basically working on that now. We obviously have an idea already, and it would be connected to Divi. However, we're still working on all the details, trying to minimize the cost as much as possible, because obviously the current situation is making funds very difficult to access, right? So we have to be able to reach a step where we have a working product that is actually generating revenue. And so that's what we're working on right now, basically working on finding the right approach for the next step based on market conditions.
Yeah,
correct.
So one more thing I want to add to that. Like, if you're listening to this, I'd love to ask you if you understand what we're doing, right? You understand it's some Divi thing or whatever. Do you understand? Ask yourself this. Do you understand what we're doing? Sorry?
That's a great question.
It is.
Yeah. So if the answer, and when you answer yourself, if you understand you don't really, you're not alone at all. This is like the three of us have been like neck deep in this, and we understand that if we can get this thing traction with this thing, it's a fundamental shift of how, and this is not the time to explain all the reasons why. I'll have an article on it, maybe I'll release soon, how it changes the industry and why. And in fact, that kind of guided the way I pitched this now. But the other thing that I kind of pointed out with is that what we're doing here is a fundamental shift of how you deliver crypto services. And it's such a difference from what we do that is more akin to like, and this is not me tooting our own horn, I promise, but it's just true. When you learn about Bitcoin, you did not understand it. I don't care who you are. You didn't understand it the first time you heard it. You're like, that's nonsense, right? And then you had to dive in and understand. It took mental effort. It took system 2 thinking to go down deeper into it and actually understand, like, wow, there's nobody in charge of this thing. Like that was an effort on your part that you took. And if someone told you 2 sentences, you would not have understood it. There is no pitch deck from Satoshi. 11-page pitch deck from Satoshi about Bitcoin. Yeah. Same is true for Ethereum. Vitalik went around, gave 40-minute presentations on what they were building. They didn't know really what they were building, but they built this world computer thing. He was giving, like, here's the things you can do with it. Here's how it works. 40-minute presentations. Not only have I been asked to give 7-slide presentations, describe how there's fundamental shifts in how what crypto looks like and how we get there in 2 minutes or less. I've been asked to describe what we do in 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again. This is what we're thinking. This is what we're up against, right? This is the investors. Tell me in 2 sentences. Tell me like this, like now. Like I need all you know in my brain in 2 minutes, or I'm not doing it. And
welcome to Shark Tank.
And over rejected because they can't understand in 2 minutes what took me weeks to understand, by the way, what we're doing. When Voice and Neegs and Herman told me what we were doing, I didn't understand it for 2 weeks. And these people are expecting to understand in 2 sentences. And I don't know what those 2 sentences are. I read the 2 sentences we came up with, and I'm like, meh.
No, but I think it's pretty clear. They don't want to understand, right? They just want to understand very briefly what you're doing. What they want to know is how they will make money and how fast they will do that. And so the problem is, if you have other goals, of course, like there is tons of money to be made with this technology, right? However, that's not the reason we're doing it for, right? And so, of course, we focus on how it changes the industry, and that change for us results in obvious opportunities that are worth trillions, right? But the problem is the investors doesn't think like that. They really want you to show them a product, a simple product that is turning money in that they want to invest into, right? And it was not like that 10 years ago in the market, but it is like that in the market today. Not because it's better, but because they have opportunity to make money. And so they don't really care if you're changing the world or not, right?
Yeah. So last comment from me on this kind of thing is you can listen to Turpin and you can listen to Charles Hoskinson and you can listen to a few other people who are talking about how this industry is going to move from a $3 trillion industry to a $100 trillion industry. Yeah. And I totally agree that can happen. I totally disagree that it can happen with the infrastructure we have now.
That's right.
We will never get there.
I would agree.
And so this is the passion that we have. This is why we do this. Because we want everybody on the planet to be involved in a global, economy that they can get in and out of as they need, and work in. We won't get there with the way it's architected at the moment, and I fundamentally also believe. And so I'm hoping that next cycle, people will hear that better. We'll see what happens.
It's hard to describe something in 2 sentences where we say we make it easier for developers, we make it more secure and more flexible for users, we make it so you don't need the coin to do the thing, and we add utility in there for everyone in this technology, and it's mind-blowing. And you have this pot of food, and to express it in a way that's in 2 seconds, it's nearly impossible. But the technology is so beautiful that if you spent time, you would be mind blown. Holy grail kind of stuff. So that's all I'll say.
One question I was asked, and it really put me off, and it was the start of my dissent about whether we're going to be able to raise much in this round, which I was asked by an investor's tech guy, right? The investors don't know shit. They get their tech guy in when they're a little bit interested. Yeah. The tech guy said, what if what we have, the bridges, the swapping services, all that kind of stuff, the stuff that we can absolutely eliminate. The things that I think is the biggest bane of our industry. He goes, what if it's good enough?
Good enough.
Yeah, because people are making front ends. They're making stuff to optimize the bridge use, to hide the mechanics of bridges and so forth. He said, "What if it's good enough?" And I was unable to convince him that it's not good enough.
So I think it's clear that it isn't good enough, but not now. I think for now it is good enough, but it is obviously not going to be pretty when they try to scale this up, right?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's good enough for a $3 trillion market that is dominated by Bitcoin.
Yeah,
it's good enough for
exactly. It's good enough for speculative utility, but for real utility, I think it will become very complicated. And again, like I think that the tension on the market will also raise more questions, right? Like all of a sudden, the things that were hidden, now people will start to point them, right? And be like, hey, that's a major issue. And I think we have a good answer for those concerns. And to get back on track, that's basically what we want to do with focusing on developing one sidechain. So it's something simple that an investor can understand, and then it would potentially help us to scale up after. With
people will be able to use. That's the thing. It will have utility we can use.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I wish we did that from the start. Honestly, it's just like, but we wanted to show the full-blown thing because it all makes sense if you show the full-blown thing.
Yeah, but, and in reality, we have many turns. Like we tried however we can, and that basically what we're doing still, right? We're adapting, we're learning what is happening, and we try to do our best. I want to remind everyone, I'm sure most of you already know, but none of us is being paid to do that. We do all that on our own time, and obviously this is a huge weight, right, on our shoulders to do all those things and try to move those things forward. So we also have to adapt to the situation ourselves. None of us were expecting this time to last that long. So we also have to make sure that our personal life are taken care of, right?
Absolutely.
Families are resources. I mean, obviously, we have to make sure that the rest is still running while we try to push this thing forward. And so that's why you've seen less videos. Obviously, Rob has stopped going around with the partner. In reality, we think it's not useful anymore given the current timing. I think it's better to kind of wait it out, see how it's coming, and then the work that Rob has been doing, I think he has strengthened relationship with a lot of people. And when the market gets better, we can potentially recontact all those people and try to establish a relationship for moving forward with the partner. But basically what I'm saying is you might see a little less videos, or maybe we'll not all be there on all videos, but we'll try to keep you up to date on what is happening, how these projects takes place for the sidechain. But basically, yes, we that's why also we're a little less present.
Yeah, I spent 3 months away from my wife and children this year, and I'm not doing that again. That was very
hardcore.
Yeah, but I think it was useful, right? Like we can obviously. It wasn't complete
outcomes from it.
Yeah. Of course, we don't have the biggest thing we were expecting, but I think, and this is also the feedback from a lot of from every partner, that it is the market timing that is really complicated. You can see on Twitter and other medium you can have for crypto communication that people are really disappointed. People who wanted to launch their token, most of them pushed back. Those who launch are extremely disappointed. Those who launch marketing campaigns, it's all basically wasted. So it is the situation. It is not just our offering, because I think the offering that our partner put in place was actually very very welcome. Actually, as I said, we had several different approach, and all of those approach were actually very welcome and thought to be like a great opportunity for the industry. But yeah, just not the right time for now.
I can attest because I spoke to chains. I spoke to founders of chains when I traveled with Rob. I spoke with investors. I spoke with everybody loves Rob. I'm just going to say that hands down. I can be visceral at times, so I can swing back and forth, but everyone loves Rob. Rob is like hugged and stuff like that practically when people see him. The other thing that I recognized through conversation was that the way that we're doing it now is almost an absolute most necessary way is to create this utility. Speaking with other founders, they're interested in using the technology. They want us to not just talk about it, but to show this technology, right? So that's what the partner has to focus on, because those other chains have expressed warmly, openly, loudly that they would not want to be on something like Ethereum as a token, or that they would not want to be on Solana as one of the other 9.8 million tokens on Solana. They would love to be their own sort of sort of a what would we call it, a service type chain on that. So I mean, this whole technology is warmly embraced, and so I'm glad that we've all made this decision to move this direction. I'm glad also that Rob can spend some time with his family, which he should. So this makes it better for all of us.
Thanks a lot, Rob, for all this time.
No, that's nice of you guys. I know I've been pretty cranky this last month because I am burnt out.
I can imagine that. Yeah. I mean, you since August last year, you've basically every month you were moving around, right? Like you just had no break, and then you finished the Asian tour with like 2 months away from your home or something like that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
and Ranouk was traveling with you for a while too. So that was you guys were both. Going
it's helpful when there's somebody else, definitely. Just shoot the shit over coffee in the morning, and then also
I loved it.
Lean on each other. That stuff that's very helpful. And in fact, if we when we start doing this again in the future, like we definitely need 2 people. Like that's just
But again,
like almost everything, 2 people make it more than twice as good.
Oh, absolutely.
But then it's also good to talk about that, because then people understand 2 people means twice as much money to move them around and then have them in a hotel. And so obviously we have to adapt, right? Like again, we raised some funds. It helps us build the structure, because all of that is very complicated with so the partner basically had to have the proper structure for crypto, how it works with regulations. So these cost money, and then moving around, sometimes making sure that their name is on the event, because otherwise you're not really noticed. So those things quickly cost money. So we had to make sure that this was properly handled. I think that again, you did a great job on that, and we have now a strong relationship with those people. And I think it would be great when we're ready to offer them the new approach, and potentially later when we move on for a larger scale thing like we wanted to do with the partner. One thing that I wanted to add also is that the partner is also pursuing the option to potentially patent the technology. Like this would enable several opportunities. Like obviously this would strengthen what they are offering, and of course it would also offer the opportunity to potentially co-develop the technology with other blockchains. So again, we'll keep you up to date on how those things are going.
Yep.
Cool. So, I think that's it for the update of everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, cool. So we're getting to the end of the year. So Christmas, New Year, that's right there around the corner.
We're into 2026 very soon.
I can tell you this. I guess I'm telling maybe a couple hundred other people, I hope. But I don't know how many people actually watch this thing or listen to this thing. This is the first year in over 2 decades that I'm spending a Christmas with just my wife. Like one kid's in college and is overseas. The other kid is on a vacation with a friend, and we live in Puerto Rico, and my mom is up in New York. And this is the first time. Wow. 3 weeks just with her. This hasn't happened in decades. So I'm super excited.
Nice.
Enjoy the blessing.
Have a great time. I'm sure you will.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year.